So let's close out the Inkscape section with a little forward-looking theory and what you've got coming up next. And let's look back a little bit too. So we've been drawing our shapes in Inkscape, and when we do that, we've been setting them to Blender. We've been submitting our SVG file to Blender, and then when that comes back, you may or may not have errors, and even if you do have errors, that doesn't necessarily mean that things weren't successful. And then you open that file in Blender and you make sure it's really clean looking, like this. So this is my finished Blender file. And if I zoom in, and this is what I did meticulously, is I zoom in and I just look around and I make sure that none of these meshes, okay, are Z fighting. If they're Z fighting, it means they did not cut correctly. So as I move around like this, things look really good. Things look really clean. No problems. So that takes us to this Blender part here. So we now have a blend file. Well, the other part that we did is we made a PNG file, which is an image of our Inkscape shapes, and we pulled that into Unity. And the next steps there is you do some digging in Unity, your terrain. You manipulate the terrain. You might want to deepen your bunkers. You might want to deepen your lakes, dig some streams. However, a lot of that is done now in the advanced OPCD tools. So as you went through your first two holes, hopefully you got to see some of the capabilities over here in the advanced OPCD tools. If you didn't play with everything, that's fine. Just be aware of what you can do with digging in Unity, and that when you're done digging, you take this OBJ file, which is a copy of your terrain in an OBJ file format, and you bring that into Blender. Then what you do is you take these two-dimensional shapes that are in Blender, you conform them to this terrain file, this OBJ, and now you have these three-dimensional meshes in there that conform to your terrain. And at that point, you can use those advanced tools to again manipulate them. You can do things like bunker shaping, lake shaping, add your water planes, do some procedural vert painting. You can place objects like bridges and bulkheads. You can flatten your meshes on your tee boxes. About the only thing you still have to do digging terrain in Unity are things like creeks. Creeks you really still want to use RAM for in Unity, and those are covered in the videos. So one thing to be aware of is that every time you process your meshes in the Blender and you get this blend file, anything that you've done with these advanced OPCD tools is done to this blend file. So if you create a new blend file, these changes are lost. So my point here that I'm trying to get is that make sure you're very confident that your Inkscape shapes are what you want and that they are processed correctly. Because if you get here and you do spend a lot of time in these advanced OPCD tools, only to find out that you have to add a new shape or something was not cut correctly, guess what? You need to come back here, send it through the Blender, new blend file, and you're starting all over again on this step, okay? Now, we'll cover more down here, but things that you do in these blends and the things that you do in Unity, a lot of that stuff can be saved if you do some additional work here. All right, so on to the next series of videos. So I would suggest go to the terrain digging videos and determine if you have to dig some more of your terrain, and then from there you're going to go to the Blender videos.